Greetings, greetings, greetings. Give thanks and praise. Origin of the Jamaican Maroons. The Jamaica Maroons. I found this document in the National Library of Jamaica government website. So I chose to share it. I know a lot of our colleagues. I remember we good brother Darkman touched on this topic. Quite sure American or touch on this topic. We'll probably have a few other people who touch on this topic. So, right now I spirit move, I for really address this thing. So I choose to touch on this topic at the moment. And I'm going to read while I share this screen here. So again, forgive me when me miscall, mispronounce, or butcher any words or any error. Remember, we are not formally educated per se. It's more self-taught. Our level of education stopped at Tivoli Comprehensive High School, so we are proud of that institution. We are proud of Madame Janet Grant Woodham. That was our, principal at the time. Anyway, origin of the Jamaica Maroons. The Jamaican Maroons are often described as enslaved Africans and persons of noticeable African descent who run away or escape from their masters or owners to acquire and preserve their freedom. Now, this is where I'm going to say, the Jamaican Maroons are often described as enslaved Africans. It means that that's what they are. You know what I mean? I don't know why people always attribute this African, classification to the Americans here in this hemisphere. The word maroon is commonly believed to be derived from the English equivalent of the Spanish word maroon. People would say si, maroon, but because it's Spanish, it's pronounced she, like the sha. Maroon, meaning, them would say wild, but it means untamed. It means unincorporated, unenfranchised. That's what it means. Like how we say, I stand. Our next word for it is sovereign. Yeah, man. The origin of the Maroons dated back to 1655, around the time when Tainos and Africans who were freed by the Spanish took to remote parts of the island for refuge from the English invasion and established settlements. Now we can touch even on that. So I guess they're saying the origin of the Maroons dated back to 1655. Before 1655, there were no such things as Maroon. However, I, who are direct descendant of the Olmec, now known as Awak, was here before 1655. So right now I can show you say I predate whatever claim any Maroon choose to make here. Their beginning is in 1655. Now we are look at this thing called Taino. I don't even want to go no far. Let me look at Taino. Let's see if we can put a search on Taino, just a basic search, and see what we get from this thing, because this Taino thing is really is like a nemesis to what is known as Arawak, or we who say we are Awaks. Here we go. The Taino were an indigenous people of the Caribbean at the time of European contact in the late 15th century. They were the principal inhabitants of most of what is now Cuba, Hispaniola, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, and the Northern Lesser Antilles. Lesser or Greater Antilles? Which one is it? The Taino were the first. All right, let's get back to this. At the time of European contact in the late 15th century, in the late 15th century. Now, in 1492, these very Spanish came here, and there were no Tainos here. We were Awak here. However, let's take time go down. The Taino were the first New World people encountered by Christopher Columbus during his 1492 voyage. And I must add, in Christopher Columbus's diary, he never mentioned nothing about Taino. He went to Haiti and said he encountered Awaks. He went to Bahamas and said he encountered Awaks. You know what I mean? Taino came after the Spanish settled here and create a subgroup called Taino. And as we go along, we can look at the location of these Tainos, are, you know, Latinos. So that's what it really is. They spoke the Taino language, a division of the Arawakan language group. Many Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Dominicans have Taino MT DNA, showing they are descendant through the direct female lines. Now, right now, you look over Cuba, Dominica, and Puerto Rico, you're going to see the product of miscegenation there. So that's really what you consider the Taino group. All right, let's go down some more, because I like this little breakdown here. Let me see what the overview I said. The Taino were an indigenous people of the Caribbean at the time of European contact in the late 15th century. They were the principal inhabitants of blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we did that already. The Taino, yeah, we did that already. We want to find something else. And the Virgin Islands. Taino, Arawakan-speaking people who at the time of Columbus exploration inhabited what are now Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Once the most numerous indigenous people of the, I would think, the Caribbean, the Taino of the Greater Antilles represent the last stage of the astronaut culture tradition. Arawakan language group. Let's take a look real fast and see where it can come with. Close sidebar copy. No one stray away too far from this thing. And Africans, okay. The origin of the Maroon dated back to 1655, around the time when Tainos, okay, we were all Awaks, and when the Spanish come and mix with us, I guess them have Tainos, where Tainos and Africans who were freed by the Spanish. All of this are just one of them kind of narrative here. And took to remote part of the island for refuge from the English invasion to establish settlements. So when them leave, took refuge. Seeing who them took refuge? with or amongst who aid them, because there was no such thing as Maroon at this very moment. Who aid them? It was I. Yeah, man. From the second half of the 17th century to the mid-18th century, the Maroons developed into a formidable force that significantly challenged the system of enslavement imposed by the English. Though great controversy surrounds the terms of the treaties that they signed with the English, their role in undermining institutionalized slavery and cultural tradition are prominent parts of the history and heritage of Jamaica. The Maroons and their fight for freedom. The English took possession of the island from the Spanish in 1655. However, fighting between the two continued for a period of approximately 5 years. During this period, the Spanish had managed to secure the help of some of the Maroons, natives, and Africans. So you got natives, Maroon, and you have Africans, Maroon. I don't know where them African Maroon come from. I guess Columbus brought them with him in order to reclaim possession of the island, but their efforts to recapture it ultimately proved futile. Despite the resulting decline of the Maroon population, they pose a serious challenge to the English, especially as the system of enslavement expanded and increasing numbers of British-owned enslaved Africans fled the plantation and joined existing Maroon communities. So now it is called Maroon communities. So the Maroon come into existence in 1655. Before 1655, there were no such thing as Maroons. However, we as a people were here. And as them say, the Taino, when we look up Taino, we're going to say it's an Arawakan language. And then it is spoken in a specific location, basically, where them location, the more derived or directed back to the Spanish-speaking, Latin-speaking countries. And then we on this side now, the western side would speak what they would call Sibani or Shibani, which is an Arawakan language, an Arawakan tongue. But people have to do them basic research there. It's right there. So the English took possession of the island from the Spanish in 1655. However, fighting between the two continued for a period of approximately 5 years. During this period, the Spanish had managed to secure the help of some Maroons, not all, in order to reclaim possession of the island, but their effort to recapture it ultimately proved futile. Despite the resulting decline of the Maroon population, they pose a serious challenge to the English, especially as the system of enslavement expanded and an increasing number of British-owned enslaved Africans fled the plantation and joined existing Maroon communities. The Maroons used various strategies to maintain their freedom and undermine the constant threat which the English posed. They would escape to mainly the cockpit country, that is, inaccessible and remote part of the island where it was hilly and densely vegetated, and established communities there, which were frequently disrupted by the English. The Maroons have been divided into two groupings based on their location: Windward Maroons and Leeward Maroons. Hear that, people? The Windward Maroons were those located in the east of the island, while the Leeward Maroons were those occupying the western part of the island. The Leeward Maroons include locations such as Trelawny Town in St. James. Not Trelawny the parish, you know, you see what I go on? Trelawny Town in St. James, and Accompong in St. Elizabeth. Among the Windward settlements are Moore and Charlestown in Portland, Nanny Town in St. Thomas, and Scott's Hall in St. Mary. Even with these groupings, the Maroon were organized in different bands. Such organization facilitated their mobilization. So when you think say just Steve Curry up there and theme group of Maroons exists. No such thing. No such thing. In fighting for and maintaining their freedom, both the Leeward and the Windward Maroons display highly skillful tactics, which proved to be most challenging for the English. Richard Price has given a vivid description of this, to the bewilderment of their European enemies, whose rigid and conventional tactics were learnt. On the open battlefield of Europe, these highly adaptable and mobile warriors took maximum advantage of local environments, striking and withdrawing with great rapidity, making extensive use of ambushes to catch their adversaries in crossfire, fighting only when and where they choose, depending on intelligence network among non-Maroons, both slaves and white settlers. The Maroon Wars. Give thanks. Step by step, people. Yeah, man, I just step by step. And again, I know a lot of people, a lot of our people touch base on this, information. So just my turn, just for our catalog. Salute, Hassan Blake. Yeah, man. Nicholas Johnson. Salute, my king. The Maroon Wars. The English and the Maroons were engaged in two wars throughout the period of struggle between them. Maroon oral history suggests that the first Maroon War, as it is called, began around 1655, spanning approximately 84 years, while records from the colonial archive suggest that its duration was about 10 years. The war emanated from the fight between the English and the Spanish over control of the island and its people and its resources, which lasted for 5 years. After the defeat of the Spanish by the English, the Maroons, who had helped the Spanish, continued to confront the English. The war took an irregular course, occurring intermittently, and both the English and the Maroons struggled to suppress each other. However, the Maroons, as many, if not most historians have concluded, were most successful in suppressing their opponents. They would raid the settlements of the English at rapid speed, at which they would quickly depart in inaccessible places, hilly and mountainous parts. They were more familiar with and knowledgeable about these conditions than the English were, and this made chase very difficult and significantly contributed to their success in battle. Boy. Yeah, that's where you say I just Steve Curry and Fiend friend them up there saying a compound alone did I do it. Now you discover there is a Leeward and a Windward Maroons. In 1734, the English managed to capture a major Maroon settlement Nanny Town. That means that the Yen Kun Kun Pikibo group of Maroon were captured by the British, which dealt a blow to the Windward Maroons. Nonetheless, this did not ensure their defeat or suppression. Kerry Robinson has noted that within a 40-year period of the first struggle between the Maroons and the English, the Assembly was to pass 44 Acts and spend 240,000 in its attempt at suppression. Also, Brian Edwards, prominent planter, historian of the time, wrote, "They plundered all around them and caused several plantations to be thrown up and abandoned, and prevented many valuable tracts of land from being cultivated, to the great prejudice and diminution of His Majesty." So everything belonged to His Majesty's revenue, that are the taxes, as well as of the trade, navigation, and consumption of British manufacturers, and to the manifest weakening and preventing the further increase of the strength and inhabitants of the islands. Oh, so you British man, they just want to come in our place and just, harvest everything from our land and just go build up Europe, and you wanted to do that without a fight. However, when you hear Maroon, don't feel like a Steve Curry and Film Friend. You understand? Not just one group of people. The Maroons were persistent in fighting, and so were offered to sign a peace treaty by the English. It was the first Maroon treaty and was signed by the fierce Leeward Maroon leader, Cujo, on the 1st of March, 1739. This is the first treaty. This treaty that Cujo signed did not apply to the Maroon community in its entirety, as the Windward Maroons were not involved in the process and were possibly unaware of such occurrence. You hear that? They maintained their defense. However, not long after, 4 months, they were also offered to sign a treaty by the English. What do I mean, offered to sign? What go on? The English had made 5 attempts at getting them to sign this treaty, which was eventually signed by the Windward Maroon leader, Kwao, on the 23rd of December, 1739. As a result of a divide between the Windward Maroons, another treaty was signed a year later by Nanny, perhaps the most celebrated leader of the Town Maroons. So Nanny was a leader of the Moore, M-O-O-R-E, Town Maroons. Both the Leeward and the Windward Maroon Treaty served to grant the Maroons freedom, pacify them, and remove a major obstacle to the institution of slavery that the English created. Oh, so this are the treaty. I know ones and ones went through this treaty, So the Leeward Treaty, which contained 15 articles, was as followed, and then them of the Windward Treaty comprises 14 articles. And mere people read the treaty already. I don't know if I should go through all of that. I don't know about the time. Yeah, man. So the treaty, people can look at it and read it. I'm not really there for really scrutinize, this treaty per se. But that's to bring the attention that when you hear Maroon, don't just think says just, the brethren, Curry and Film Friend, them up there, sir. And not just them, Subsequent to the ratification of both treaties, the Maroons had a relatively peaceful existence until July of 1795, when the Second Maroon War broke out. This arose from mounting grievances the Trelawny Town Maroons had with the British. So the Trelawny Town Maroons, which is located in St. James. That's the Maroon what we are talking about. But what ignited the war was the flogging of two Maroons who were convicted of stealing pigs by a runaway slave. They had returned to the authorities in adherence with one of the articles of the treaty. So them two Maroon, capture a runaway slave and bring him back to the slave master. And the runaway slave, I look like him can read and write a little bit. So him just, reverse the situation upon these two Maroons and accuse them of theft, where him, as the runaway slave, turn around and put some whip on these two Maroon slave catcher, Who would have known? Yeah. But what ignited the war was the flogging of two Maroons who were convicted of stealing pigs by a runaway slave. They had returned to the authorities in adherence with one of the articles of the treaty. So right there, I'm show you, so them a slave catcher. These Maroons, it is believed, were angered by the conviction and flogging of, as they felt that they should have been the one to try and accuse and punish them, that are their fellow Maroons. Besides, they felt undignified because the flogging was done by a runaway slave they had handed over to the authorities. You're gonna get one of the deserve, man. The British authorities tried to quell the rebellion by meeting the Maroons, but this proved to be unsuccessful as they were dissatisfied with the demands of the British. As a consequence, they continued the war. Governor Lord Balcarres ordered the Maroons to capitulate by 12th of August, but only a small number of the older Maroons did. The others persisted and brought about considerable damages and losses upon the British property and troops, but eventually surrendered to the British on the 6th of March 1796 for the reason they were significantly outnumbered by British troops, haunted by specially trained dogs from Cuba, and other Maroons haunted by specially trained dogs from Cuba and other Maroons. Moreover, it is said that they were indulged into capitulation against them, forced through proposal of another treaty by the governor. Well, they were enticed. At the end of the war was officially declared on 16th of March 1796. All right, so they would have a treaty in 1739. One with the Leeward Maroon, 1st of March 1739, and then one with the Windward Maroons in 23rd of December 1739, and then war broke out again and mash up all of them treaty here. And then them surrender, yes, on the 6th of March 1796. So the end of the war was officially declared on the 16th of March 1796, and on the 6th of June, over 500 Maroons were deported to Halifax. You hear that? Deported. How can they deport somebody who is originally from here? That means that all who wasn't originally from here were shipped out of here. Yeah, man, to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Maroons and Jamaican heritage, arguably the most outstanding feature and personage of Maroon existence that is a part of the heritage of Jamaica is a settlement they established during the period of enslavement. And Nanny, one of the leaders of the Windward Maroons, so Nanny are one of the Maroon national heroes. Maroon settlements that have survived include Accompong in St. Elizabeth, Moore and Charlestown in Portland, and Scots Hall in St. Mary. These communities still, to a great extent, maintain the culture of their forebearers despite some amount of assimilation into the wider Jamaican society. Oh, man. So, the very same Maroons are the very same Jamaican. You understand? Are the very same runaway slaves. Are the very same black people. Are the very same Negro stock. Because at no time, in no documentation, you see where them enslave any kind of foreign people around here. It's always the foreign corporation bring their indentured servants to our location in order to domesticate us. Yeah, man. Maroon settlements that have survived including Accompong in St. Elizabeth, Moore and Charlestown in Portland, and Scots Hall in St. Mary's. These communities still, to a great extent, maintain the culture of their forebearers despite some amount of assimilation into the wider Jamaican society. The communities have their own leaders who are referred to as colonels historically. Their traditions are predominantly African-based. Where you get that from? With natural essence and existence, because we don't know so this is who we are, we not put African claim on our existence. So if we play a drum, it is an African drum. If we rap we head, oh, it's an African rap. If we wear beads, oh, it's an African beads. While we are here in America, and we are American. You see the craziness? So people have to choose to know who and what they are. And if the Maroons' existence was established in 1655, then the Maroons now have no sovereign claim here. Stand down, because I, descendant of the Olmec Empire, yeah man, Awak Indian, this is the nowadays term, was here long before these so-called Maroons that came here or that exist in 1655. Yeah, man. This is why my claim is superior here. Yes, I. So them said their tradition are predominantly African-based, especially from the Akan region. All of this a theory. It is a common view that most of the original Maroons were Caramantes, natives of the Akan region. Probably so. We don't know about that. Among these traditions are the ambush dance, Mayalism, and an African-based, what that Pygmy language. That's what them other try to say. So I guess we all are with patois or we talk with ba ta ka cha. Them now see it as Shamatic. They must say African, you know. Other elements of their tradition include jerk pork or bonnier pork, not magoso. You get me? However, different groups of people here with different kind of likes and dislikes and fetish. But all when we choose to use flesh, we burn pork. We don't use pork. However, free will out there. And the use of rum and pigs for rituals. They say all them sacrilegious thing, yeah? Who would I use pig for any kind of rituals? Who? What people? Definitely not us. All when the people them will eat pork, we eat them now put that on a sacred and I talk about, hey, holy pig. Not like that. Not like that. However, not even the Obia man may say I cut pig throat. The Obia man will cut all a cow or a goat or a sheep or a fowl, but a pig, something else I go on here, so my lord. Forgive me, I tell the eye them say eye view is always a little bit different, you know. But yeah, man, Kojo, Kwa, Accompong. So you see, say Accompong Town, the name of an individual. And coffee, among other Maroon leaders, are often mentioned in discussion of Maroon history and celebratory activities. However, only the female Maroon leader, Nanny, has acquired a superior position in the heritage of Jamaica. Nanny is known for her elusive presence, fierceness in battle, and Obia skills that have attracted much attention. Nanny existence has often been questioned because of her elusiveness, and incredible Obia works she performed has also attracted debate. Nonetheless, there are accounts which speak to this. In memoirs and anecdotes of Philip Fitness, late Lieutenant Governor, for instance, reference is made to Nanny as the old hag. Had a griddle around her waist, which I speak within compass 9 or 10 different knives hanging in sheaths to it. That means that she have on a belt full of knives, many of which I have no doubt have been plunged into human flesh and blood. Today, Nanny is the only Maroon leader who has ascended to the rank of national hero, the most significant recognition given by the country, and one that has earned her a spot on the Jamaica $500 note. So this is Nanny, you know. Yeah, man, and Nanny that we are touch base on. And then we touch base on the Maroons. And, you know, I make it known, say, boy, the Maroons are different groups. And one thing I find, you know, interesting is when them tell us that the Leeward Maroon included locations such as Trelawny Town in St. James. Not in Trelawny, the parish. It is in St. James, the parish. Trelawny Town. That's an interesting, you know. And then Moortown. Yeah, man. I think I must look at this. Information, our work. Is there anything? Let me see. I don't want to spend much more time out here. Yeah, we're gonna just say gratitude. Gratitude for the time and just wrap up this. A good little 20-30 minute worth of information share. And the item can find this information, find the website, the web page, and do them own little read up and catch up on, you know. Cross-reference and qualify some of them information, yeah. and bring closure to it. So, information shared. Salute, free people. Gratitude again for the time. Gratitude for your presence. Information shared. So, Maroons. Yeah, man. Check yourselves, man. Your existence started in 1655. You're a new breed, Maroons. Yeah, man. So my claim and my declaration from 1492, when these guys came into our hemisphere and came to this island in 1494, in vision, that Christian invasion. So our claim is from that time, 1492, ab initio, from origin. Yeah, man. So again, Maroons, check yourself, man. I want to speak a lot, but I don't even have a clue who and what you guys are. And if you're a descendant of African, pack your bags now. Every tub have to go sit down on its own. So don't feel like you're going to free yourself in a group. Yeah, man. Right now, you look at a man who represent what it is to be free in this time. Yeah, man. Truly, that's what it is. I, man, represent what it is to be free in this time. Complete gratitude, people. Step by step. Step by step.